Hey everyone, Captain Amazing here, and today we're going to go over my Grand Arena for 3v3. So let's jump into it. So my opponent is Onyx with the House of Ren. The House of Ren, that is Nooch Too Good's guild. I did check, and he's actually the leader, so that explains the massive amount of GP for this account. So a very big account, a good account overall. 8.15 million GP in characters and 4.8 in ships. Decent datacron, so not a lot of plus 28s, but a decent amount of plus 20. So I did have a slight datacron advantage, even though I have a lot less 6-dot mods than them. They overall beat me in relics, datacrons, and overall just character unlocks. So they have all the GLs, so I'm missing Lord Vader and GL Ahsoka, where they have them all ultimates fully fleshed out. They also have Baylan and Skoll, Jar Jar Binks, so they have some notable teams more than I do. And then they also have the Relic 9 Piet for Executor, so that was a very small fleet advantage on that he has. Plus he does have the Marauder because he has Lord Vader and I don't. And then on characters, so some notable teams that they just have better than, are more and better than I do. Alright, so on that front wall, they do have some pretty good teams. So Jabba, Great Mothers, some Rey. On the top, they do have, oh, that was really quick. So on the top, they do have GL Ahsoka. So that one, and Baylan and Skoll on the bottom. So the first one I'm going to go over is Baylan and Skoll with Bane. I wasn't too sure about this fight. It's very new to me. I've never faced Baylan and Skoll before. So I decide I'm going to start siphoning Baylan and Skoll, start lowering his stats overall. I was worried about Merrick's damage, so I hit him once with Bane, but I saw that I did not do much damage, so I decided I'm just going to stay on Baylan and Skoll. And as you saw there, like, Merrick almost killed both my dudes in one hit. Luckily, I was able to kill Shin and then Merrick pretty quickly, and now once it's just Baylan and a juiced up Bane, I was not worried at all. So I knew once they started dying that I was pretty comfortable there. Next, we're going to have Great Mothers here. I am going to use a Thickron on my Revan, and with this Revan-led team with Revan, Merrick, and Badstilla, that's a pretty decent and easy team here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go take off the taunt on so we're going to go for Great Mothers here, and it's going to be not too hard because I do have the Thickron, so I'm just going to try to keep the taunt off Morgan Elsbeth and then go in on the Great Mothers. If they can get Deathmark, then that's a lot easier, but even without Deathmark, all these debuffs, I'm just kind of whittling her away and she just dies. So this is a super easy counter. I highly recommend it. I do have Leviathan, so both my dudes are R9, so it's not that hard for me for this counter, but really good team. Next, I have kind of an overkill. So normally I have to face Ezreal with Rey here in 3s and Ben, but this time I don't have to. So I do have my Palpatine on defense with Mara Jade on my back wall, so I don't have them to kind of make this team not as much of an overkill, but I don't mind it. It's still a very reliable. It is the most reliable counter because Palpatine can lose, so or at least die. So I was happy with that counter. I don't think I will need to split up the team. Next, I'm going to go with SLKR and Jabba. With SLKR and Jabba, they do have really high relics here. So Relic 9 on Chrysanthemum and Relic 8 on Bush. So I was a little worried that if I can't get around to Bush, then they keep her alive, she can take out Chrysanthemum. If anything, the one thing I probably should have done here is I should have basicked right there and then done the poke to take off his taunt. But if you notice here, like, my buff immunity didn't land anyways, and I do have a revive cron on my cron right now, and a Ufu's cron, so my tank does revive, which is nice. So he does come back. It gives him SOKR a little bit of wiggle room for survivability, just having crew survive there. And now I'm going all in on Bush now that Chrysanthemum lost his taunt. And I jump into ult here, full ult, which I did wait for, and that kills Bush. And at this point, once Bush dies in 3v3, there is no threat to SOKR. It's just a matter of time of how fast I'm going to kill Chrysanthemum. And it does look like he's holding out here pretty well, but SOKR ramps really well, and he just instantly one-shots him, even though he was full health and protection. So like I said, at this point, it's a given. It's not if Jabba's gonna die, it's just when he's gonna die. So I just keep doing the poke, swipe, swipe basic, and I'm just gonna call it a day from here once he dies. So really, luckily he dies before he ults too, so saved me some banners there. Next, we're gonna go third sister against Luthen, and this without Luthen's crons, it's a lot easier. With Luthen's crons, it's still honestly not that hard, especially with the Great Inquisitor cron, because every time we kill someone, we're getting tenacity up and damage immunity. But this time they didn't even take a turn, so not really an issue here. Like, really easy fight. Surprisingly easy, especially without that Omicron. So I'm pretty happy with that. Next on the back wall, a bunch of weird stuff. I don't know why he split Tuskens, but he did. So we're going to go with Leia against GL Ahsoka. So this is a Relic 9 GL Ahsoka. I am going to go straight into Padawan Sabine here. So Padawan Sabine is the damage, and if she survives, she can hit really hard and kill someone. But my plan is I'm just going to go straight for her, hopefully with Drogon's basic. Boom, she's gone. And at that point, really happy with how this counter is going. So as you can see, like R2-D2's taking a little bit of poke damage, but overall her damage isn't anything crazy here. So he did get to 50 stacks of Purgle Migration, and you would think it would be an issue, but he just dies. So once both the ads are dead, I just throw it on auto, because there's nothing Ahsoka Tano can do here to make me lose, because her damage isn't high enough, even at Relic 9. So it's just, and there's no way to play this wrong. So whatever abilities they want to use, it's totally fine. So 55, if anything, I could have maybe slow rolled it and got GL Leia's ult, but you know, what are you going to do? Hindsight, right? So we have Sith here with Savage lead for Gungans. This one is really easy. I did use an offense ramping cron, so if for some reason they somehow was able to kill Traya and Nihilus, if Savage is alive, his offense would ramp enough to just kill them outright, because he gets a bunch of turn meter every time he's crit, and he's crit very often every time he's pretty much hit. And as you can see here, his damage is just ramping exponentially, because he's getting 5% off, or yeah, 5% offense every time he takes a turn, and he's just constantly taking turn after turn after turn. So he hits so ridiculously hard. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going all in on Boss Nass, and then I'm going to insta kill Jar Jar, and that makes it a lot easier. And now, like, once the generator's dead, you pretty much won it anyways. So I'm just going to kind of just beat down this phalanx and just call it a day. So max banners there. So this Relic 9 Iden, I did use a decent cron here, a thick cron. for my Radis. So I am with riposte, I believe. Oh, no riposte, just a Thicron. So I am a little worried about Relic 9 Iden's damage, and they do have range and Scout Trooper here, and that can be a lot of damage. So I was a little worried about that, but not too much. I don't know how higher relics would kind of affect this counter. I did think about maybe using Wampa, but Wampa can die, especially with range trooper here, because of all the assists. So I decided I'm just going to use Radis, probably the safest thing here. And I wanted to kill Iden right off the bat and just go straight at her, because if they have their hope buff, then you can kill Iden and she won't revive. But I did not end up finishing her off until I could ult here, and she still survives, but at this point they all will mostly die to that AoE, and range, it's just range trooper and he'll die pretty quickly here. Max banner super clean. Next we have Malgus. So Malgus with Sith Assassin and Sith Marauders, pretty good combo for this, and it allows me to split up my Synth Empire pretty cleanly, and I take out Finn, Hero Finn, right off the bat, and now I'm just cycling with turn meter mechanics to get Malgus his turns as fast as possible. And that's going to get me my second dunking on Finn, and that should just kill him right off the bat as well. So there you go. Next, I just have to kill Zori here. I was hoping to kill her with a dunking, but I'm able to just, like, with the ads and enough damage, I'm able to just kind of take her out before I can even cycle to the dunking here. So she just kind of dies really quick. I lose a banner, not the biggest of deal. Now I'm kind of going into, I have some overkills I can do, and I decide that this Rex 5s is probably the biggest threat on the field, so I decided to throw JMK. I had saved JMK just in case there was a Quadme on the back, because I had to use Bane on Baylan and Skoll, and JMK cannot beat Baylan and Skoll. It's like a 3% win rate. So I insta-kill Captain Rex, and then I go all in on 5s here. And honestly, this is so amazingly easy. There's honestly no threat here. So once the Omicron is gone, this team is ridiculously easy. So definitely an overkill, but I had to save JMK, and this was the strongest team on the field. Next we go with Trench. So Trench on the back wall can be pretty dangerous if you don't have a proper team to beat it. And I decide to use C because C can just insta-kill Django and Trench, and I don't really have to worry about it. They don't have enough damage to kill C anyways. So they do have a Django-Cron. I didn't even bother to check to see what it did. I just was like, yeah, C can probably kill this. So I put Tank Tech on C, and I just link Trench and Django, and it's all up, like, just on with the races from here. So I'm just gonna go all in on Newt, try to keep my ads alive long enough to get to ult, and that's the plan. So nothing really here that's concerning. They can't really touch SOKR here. I go into ult, and Newt's still somewhat alive. There you go. So they do take some turns right there, right before I can get to ult, and I unfortunately lose both ults, or both my ads right at the end, and I lose a bunch of banners. So I definitely could have two-shot that, which I would probably do in the future. But I've seen C fail enough that I don't want to have it happen to me. So next we have JML against Qui-Gon. So I decided to use JML here just because he turns off the Omicron, and it makes it super easy. So I could have used a bunch of other things here, like CLS with CLS Cron, but this makes it easy and I don't have to worry about it. Next we have Tuskens. So Tuskens with the Chieftain Omicron, for some reason, is what he decided to go here. And they have the damage immunity on their Datacron. So I did go with Bo Mando here. I have Bo Mando here just in case I have to beat a Lord Vader on the back wall, so I did not need her for anything particular, and she's such a strong, it's such a strong team that I knew this would be a pretty much guaranteed win because there's absolutely no threat here. There is a lot of dots, but the team thrives with debuffs and ramping their defense. So even though they do have dots, it's still no threat to them. It just kind of strips some of my banners. Next we have Quadme. So Quadme is going against the Tusken Raider. This team is not that difficult. Lead and the Tusken Shaman are not very good. So pretty much what this does is it's just a threat of timing out if you can't kill both raiders at the same time. And that's all this team is a timeout threat because their damage is really weak. So essentially you just need something that can hit hard enough that it can kill the team in one hit, which Padawan Obi-Wan can. So I did not have to worry about that. Next we have Enoch here, and I decided to go with Jedi Knight Revan lead because they do have some protection up mechanics and everything. Jedi Knight Revan has some savior mechanics too, and as you can see here, I'm dealing like no damage to Enoch. So at this point I honestly was a little worried, or I was like, did I make a mistake here? Am I like, is this how I lose? Do I lose this Grand Arena because I like against an Enoch? But luckily I am able to do decent to kill Enoch, and then I did get hit Savior with Jedi Knight Luke because of all the, I don't even know the name of that mechanic, Plague or whatever it is, the other version of Plague, but you know, decent banners. I just lose one, so that's the ground there. 1623 for fleets. Now we have the Negotiator Profundity Radis, which is not a very hard lineup without Executor or the Leviathan. So I am going to use the Chimaera here against the Negotiator. It is a very strong counter as long as you use TIE Interceptor as first reinforcement and you mark Anakin, and that'll kill Anakin like right off the bat, and that's the foundation of the team. So that's pretty much the plan. You go all in on Anakin. I'm gonna put him in stealth. They're gonna use Unending Loyalty. I'm gonna come in with a first turn reinforcement with a TIE Interceptor. I'm going to mark Anakin and then kill him. Once he's dead, then it's just surviving long enough to ult the Marauder. So they are, this is one thing I don't like about the counter now, is they go all in on Scythe, because we no longer get marking on the TIE ships. So I do try to do that protection up on the Scythe to keep him alive. And they are going to AoE here on the TIE Interceptor. Unfortunately, it did not get any dodges, and it just like straight up dies, which I was not happy about because of my banners. So I am going to just kill all the rest of the team here, stun Marauder, and then hopefully get to ult, save some banners here, and then call it a win. So 71, not bad. Next, I'm going to go with my Negotiator against the Radis. So I don't have a built-up Marauder, so that's why mine's on defense, or I'm sorry, on reinforcement. So they do hit my Anakin really hard, and I really hate that about this counter. They always go for Anakin, but luckily I'm able to kill the bomber really quickly. I always do. And I'm going to use Ahsoka's ship here to strip off the buffs on Poe, and then use middle ability on Rey's Millennium Falcon. Unfortunately, she survived and still did her AoE, but it was really weak because she had no buffs. And I'm going to put Unending Loyalty on everyone again. They're going to reinforce with the comeuppance, and same thing. I just have to strip the Foresight, and then I can kill him with Anakin, and now it's just the comeuppance. And even though it's a really great ship, it really does require the fleet to be as good. So at that point, it's a win. 72 banners. Next, I'm gonna go with a Profundity Mirror, and I do have some extra banners here. I'll leave one extra slot on the reinforcement, but I did take 3 reinforcements just in case. because I have had bad RNG where I go second, they kill my tank pretty much right off the bat, and I'm at risk here. So I do end up going first, which is great. Happy to have that, and I'm able to go all in on their Rebel Y-Wing. I'm going to call the assist here, and I get a bunch of assists, so their tank dies, and luckily my tank lives. So I'm able to go out on all in on the Outrider. Unfortunately, I did not get any assists there, or not enough assists, so the Outrider survived. And then bringing in the Bomber, I knew that would give him some protection back, but I felt like it was worth it to put the burning out there. And maybe I should have done something else, but I don't regret calling my Bomber out. So I stripped the taunt from Biggs, and I'm going to just go straight in on that Outrider, because once the Outrider's dead, that's their ultimate generating character or ship. So at this point, I pretty much won, because they're not going to get to their ult fast enough without the Outrider. So regardless of what happens, like once the Outrider's dead, that's pretty much it. Like I'm just going to win. Which is great, but I do have to work through this Millennium Falcon first, and he dies before I even get to ult. I'm gonna get to ult here shortly and get all my banners back and call it a win. So pretty clean mirror match, cleaner than I was hoping. So pretty happy that all my characters survived. 73, and let's see how I did overall compared to my opponent. So this was the overall score, 2059 to 2050. An excellent battle, excellent opponent. Unfortunately, they did drop one battle here on my Zori, and even with one drop battle, and me not dropping any battles, I still only won by 9 banners, because they were pretty clean for the rest of it. So yeah, like an excellent opponent, very had a lot of fun with it. So yeah, I'll see you all next time. Take care.